On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Benjamin Franklin, one of America's most revered founding fathers, died on April 17, 1790, at the age of 84. His death was due to pleuritic attack, a lung ailment he had suffered with for some time, marking the end of a life spent in extraordinary service to science, diplomacy, politics, and civic advancement. Franklin's passing occurred in the early years of the American Republic, a time when the new nation was still defining its identity. As a polymath and advocate of Enlightenment values, Franklin embodied the 18th century ideals of reason, self-improvement, and public virtue. His death was met with widespread mourning, both in the United States and abroad. The French National Assembly held a moment of silence, an unprecedented gesture for a foreign citizen, underscoring Franklin's international reputation as a champion of liberty and diplomacy. In the U.S., more than 20,000 people attended his funeral in Philadelphia, a city he had helped shape intellectually and physically through his numerous civic endeavors. Franklin's death amplified his legend. While he had already been a household name, known for his experiments with electricity, his role in drafting the Declaration of Independence, and his successful diplomacy in securing French support during the American Revolution, his passing marked the transition from living statesman to national icon. His aphorisms, inventions, and life story were enshrined in textbooks, public monuments, and historical memory. The nature of his death, peaceful, in old age, and surrounded by a grateful nation, reflected the 18th century ideal of a virtuous life rewarded with a dignified death. Unlike the violent ends met by figures such as Joan of Arc or Abraham Lincoln, Franklin's demise aligned with Enlightenment views of legacy. That reason and service could ensure one's immortality through ideas, not martyrdom. Franklin's enduring presence in American consciousness speaks to humanity's desire to preserve and celebrate lives that reflect our highest aspirations. He is immortalized through statues, the U.S. $100 bill, and countless biographies and school lessons. His life and death remind us that memory is often shaped not just by how we die, but by how we live in service to others. Doris Roberts, beloved American actress, best known for her role as Marie Barone on the long-running sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond, passed away on April 17, 2016, at the age of 90. Her death was due to a stroke, categorized as natural causes. It marked the end of a career that spanned over 6 decades, during which she became an icon of maternal, often meddlesome but deeply loving characters on stage and screen. Roberts's passing came at a time when television was rapidly evolving, yet audiences continued to find comfort in familiar character-driven storytelling. Her roles, particularly in family-centered shows, reflected a broader cultural value placed on multi-generational bonds and the role of women as the emotional anchors of domestic life. In an industry that often sidelines older actresses, Roberts defied ageist norms, achieving some of her greatest fame in her 70s and 80s, a quiet testament to perseverance and talent. The immediate response to her death was one of heartfelt tributes from fans, peers, and co-stars. Ray Romano and Patricia Heaton publicly expressed their grief and admiration, underscoring her vital role in shaping the success of Everybody Loves Raymond. While her death did not shift the trajectory of history in the way political or revolutionary figures might, it served as a cultural moment, prompting reflection on the value of character actors and the richness they bring to television history. Roberts's legacy is amplified by the resonance of her work. Her portrayal of Marie Barone remains a masterclass in comedic timing, emotional nuance, and scene-stealing presence. Her death, was a reminder of the lasting power of television to immortalize its stars. Through reruns, awards, and the memories of millions who laughed at her lines and saw parts of their own family dynamics in her performances, Roberts lives on. Her passing reminds us that legacy isn't reserved for the politically powerful or historically groundbreaking. It also belongs to those who bring joy, provoke thought, and reflect our shared human experience through art. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the Nobel Prize-winning Colombian novelist and journalist, died on April 17, 2014 in Mexico City at the age of 87. His death was the result of natural causes, following complications from lymphatic cancer and a recurring lung infection. The passing of this literary giant marked the end of an era for Latin American literature and global storytelling. Garcia Marquez, best known for 100 Years of Solitude, was a central figure in the Latin American boom and a pioneer of magical realism, blending the ordinary with the fantastical in ways that challenged Western literary norms. His death came at a time when Latin America continued grappling with political instability, inequality, and post-colonial identity. Garcia Marquez's life and work reflected these themes, deeply rooted in the history, myth, and politics of the continent. His close friendship with political leaders such as Fidel Castro also sparked controversy, revealing the tensions between artistic independence and political allegiance. The quiet, natural end to such a revolutionary literary voice contrasted sharply with the turbulent, often surreal landscapes he penned. It was almost poetic, a man whose stories transcended death and time slipping away in silence. The global response was immediate and reverent. Leaders, scholars, and readers mourned him as the voice of a continent. In Colombia, 3 days of national mourning were declared. His funeral in Mexico City became an international homage, attended by dignitaries and admirers from across the world. His death didn't just mark the loss of a writer, it symbolized the closing of a chapter in literary innovation and regional pride. Garcia Marquez's legacy lives on not only in literature but also in film, art, and academia. His themes of memory, solitude, and human resilience continue to resonate worldwide. Through adaptations, scholarly analysis, and the enduring popularity of his novels, his memory remains vivid. His passing reinforces humanity's timeless fascination with mortality and the stories we craft to give life meaning beyond death. Linda McCartney, renowned photographer, animal rights activist, and wife of Paul McCartney, died on April 17, 1998, at the age of 56, from breast cancer. Her passing was a deeply personal loss for one of music's most iconic families, but it also marked the departure of a figure who quietly influenced cultural shifts in art, music, and ethical living during the latter half of the 20th century. Linda's death came at a time when cancer awareness was beginning to rise, but treatments were still limited in comparison to today's standards. Diagnosed in 1995, she fought privately, reflecting the era's more reserved approach to public illness. Her decision to keep her battle largely out of the spotlight spoke to a cultural ethos of dignity and quiet strength, particularly among women of her generation. She passed away at the family ranch in Tucson, Arizona, far from the glare of the public eye and symbolic of her enduring desire for a grounded, nature-connected life. The immediate response to her passing was an outpouring of grief from both the public and the artistic community. Linda had forged her own identity beyond her marriage, notably as a pioneering female rock photographer who captured candid moments of musicians in the 1960s and 70s, including Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. Her legacy was also deeply rooted in advocacy, co-founding the successful Linda McCartney vegetarian food brand and publishing vegetarian cookbooks that helped popularize plant-based diets well before it became mainstream. Her death, while not altering the course of history in a geopolitical sense, amplified her legend as a gentle revolutionary, an artist, mother, and activist who merged compassion with creativity. It reminded a global audience of the power of personal choices and quiet influence. Today, Linda McCartney is commemorated through photography retrospectives, vegetarian cookbooks, and the continued success of her food line. Her memory is immortalized in art and activism, reflecting a broader human desire to find meaning and legacy in how we live and in how we are remembered. Barbara Bush, former First Lady of the United States and wife to President George H.W. Bush, died on April 17, 2018 at the age of 92 from complications of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and congestive heart failure. Her death was peaceful and natural, taking place at her home in Houston, Texas, surrounded by family. A fitting farewell for a woman who consistently placed family at the heart of her life and public service. Barbara Bush lived through and helped shape some of the most turbulent decades in American history, from World War II through the Cold War and into the new millennium. Her death reflected a generational shift, the gradual passing of an era defined by traditional values, personal responsibility, and understated patriotism. She famously eschewed political correctness and was revered for her bluntness and wit, often serving as a moral compass not only for her family, but also for a segment of the American public who saw her as a symbol of stability. The immediate consequence of her passing was a rare moment of bipartisan mourning. Politicians and citizens alike honored her legacy of literacy, advocacy, kindness, and strength. She had championed literacy as a cornerstone of democracy, founding the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy, which continues her work today. Her passing reminded the nation of the quieter forms of leadership that often go unnoticed but leave lasting imprints. Her death did not drastically shift the trajectory of American politics, but it amplified her legend as one of only 2 women in U.S. history to be both a First Lady and the mother of a president. Her life and death offer a reflection on the enduring importance of personal integrity, civic responsibility, and the power of maternal influence in public life. Barbara Bush is immortalized not only in statues and libraries, but also in the national memory as a matriarch of service. Her legacy continues through educational programs and in the example she set for public figures, navigating personal and political spheres with grace and grit. Catherine Spaak, the French-Italian actress, singer, and cultural icon of the 1960s, passed away on April 17, 2022, at the age of 77 due to complications following a cerebral hemorrhage she suffered a year earlier. Her death was natural, but it marked the quiet close of a career that once epitomized European modernity, rebellion, and feminine autonomy during a time of sweeping societal change. Born into a family of artists and intellectuals, her father was screenwriter Charles Spaak, Catherine was a cinematic sensation by her teenage years. In Italy, she quickly became a symbol of youthful sophistication, starring in films such as Il Sorpasso, 1962, and La Noia, 1963, which reflected the sexual and cultural liberalization of post-war Europe. Her passing thus serves as a poignant reminder of a bygone era when film served as a major vehicle for expressing shifting values, especially around gender roles and individual freedom. The immediate public response to her death was respectful but subdued, overshadowed by the changing dynamics of modern celebrity. Yet among cinephiles and cultural historians, her legacy was quickly reaffirmed. Spaak's influence extended beyond the screen. She was also a successful singer and later a TV presenter, embodying the multifaceted identity of the modern European woman. Her life and death echo the fading of the golden age of Italian cinema, a time when film stars were the avatars of societal evolution. While Spaak may not have shifted the trajectory of history in the way political figures might, her death invites reflection on the power of film and popular culture in shaping identity and memory. The art she left behind, still studied in film schools and celebrated in retrospectives, continues to influence fashion, performance, and feminist critique. In this way, Catherine Spaak is immortalized not through monuments, but through reels of celluloid and cultural discourse. Her passing reinforces humanity's enduring need to connect with eras past through storytelling and image. It reminds us that while fame may fade, the artistic expressions it births can echo for generations. Deanna Durbin, the Canadian-born soprano and Hollywood film star of the 1930s and 1940s, passed away on April 17, 2013 at the age of 91 in Neaufle-le-Château, France. Her death was natural and occurred far from the spotlight that once illuminated her. After retiring from the film industry at just 27, Durbin chose a life of quiet domesticity in Europe, an unusual path for a star of her magnitude and a choice that reflected the shifting ideals of fame, femininity, and personal agency in her time. Durbin rose to fame as a teenager in the midst of the Great Depression, offering audiences a wholesome, optimistic persona that provided relief during difficult years. Her crystalline singing voice and charm were credited with saving Universal Studios from bankruptcy. She was once one of the highest-paid women in the United States. Her sudden departure from Hollywood in the late 1940s confounded fans and executives alike. It reflected not only her disillusionment with typecasting and studio control, but also a broader tension between the public's desire for accessible stars and the individual's pursuit of authentic life. The consequences of her death were not seismic in the public sphere, as she had long withdrawn from celebrity. But among classic film enthusiasts and music historians, her passing rekindled appreciation for her contributions to early musical cinema. Her legend, paradoxically, grew in absence. The mystery surrounding her retreat from fame only deepened her allure. Her death confirmed the finality of an era where stardom could be tightly curated, yet swiftly abandoned. Durbin's life and death underscore the delicate balance between fame and self-determination, a theme still relevant today. Her legacy survives through meticulously restored films, academic studies, and tributes by soprano vocalists who cite her as inspiration. She is commemorated not with grand memorials, but through reels of silver screen performances that continue to charm new generations. Her story reminds us that memory and mortality are not always magnified by spectacle, but sometimes by silence. In preserving her work, we engage in the quiet art of remembrance, where legacies are sustained not just by fame, but by the lasting beauty of talent. James Olsen, an American actor known for his versatile performances across stage, film, and television, passed away on April 17, 2022, at the age of 91 in Malibu, California. His death was due to natural causes, and he was cremated with his ashes scattered at sea. Born on October 8, 1930 in Evanston, Illinois, Olsen began his acting career in Chicago before studying under Lee Strasberg in New York. He made his Broadway debut in The Young and Beautiful and went on to perform in several notable productions, including J.B. and The Three Sisters. His film career featured roles in Rachel, 1968, and The Andromeda Strain, 1971, while his television appearances spanned popular series such as Gunsmoke, Columbo, and Murder, She Wrote. Olsen's passing marked the end of a career that reflected the mid-20th century American entertainment landscape, characterized by a transition from stage to screen and the rise of television as a dominant medium. His choice to retire from acting in 1990 and lead a private life thereafter underscores a personal decision to step away from the public eye, a contrast to the often relentless pursuit of fame in the industry. While his death did not cause a significant shift in the trajectory of history, it did prompt a reflection on the contributions of character actors who, though not always in leading roles, provide depth and nuance to storytelling. Olsen's performances continue to be appreciated by audiences and serve as a testament to the enduring impact of dedicated craftsmanship in the arts. The remembrance of James Olsen through film retrospectives and online tributes illustrates humanity's desire to honor those who have enriched cultural narratives. His legacy endures in the roles he portrayed and the stories he helped bring to life, reminding us of the power of performance to resonate across time. Earl King, a seminal figure in New Orleans blues and R&B, died of complications from diabetes on April 17, 2003, at the age of 69. His death was a natural one, yet it underscored a broader pattern common among aging African American musicians. Health struggles often compounded by systemic inequities in healthcare access and financial security. Despite his significant influence on Southern music, King lived much of his later life outside the limelight, a common fate for many genre-defining artists whose fame never matched their contribution. Born Earl Silas Johnson IV in 1934, King was both a performer and prolific songwriter. His compositions, including Come On, Let the Good Times Roll, and Trick Bag, were later covered by legends like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, cementing his indirect impact on rock and blues alike. His death did not cause widespread headlines but sent ripples through the music community. For many, it marked the loss of one of the last direct links to the golden era of New Orleans R&B. According to the New York Times, his passing was quietly mourned by those who knew the depth of his contributions to American music. Parallels, 2003. King's death highlighted a generational shift, the dwindling of musicians who had personally bridged gospel, blues, and rock and roll. It also raised questions about how society values cultural architects, especially those from marginalized communities. Though he never reached mainstream superstardom, his legend grew posthumously through tribute albums and festivals celebrating New Orleans' musical heritage. His story illustrates a broader truth about mortality and memory, namely, that recognition often arrives too late. Yet, in death, figures like King can attain a new form of immortality. Through documentaries, recordings, and scholarly work, artists are recontextualized and celebrated. King's music continues to be played, sampled, and studied, his legacy kept alive not only through art, but through the persistent cultural memory of a sound uniquely his.